Warning, this may contain content not suitable for children. And snowflakes, you have been warned. Today's day and age and everything we're going through as a country, as a society, has been really tough on a lot of people. So luckily we can turn to entertainment to, bring us all together and not divide. So let's see what we got going today. From Inverse, weirdest Clone War episode ever could prove Rey fixed Anakin's mistakes. Not even one, just stakes. There's a Z in there. Calgon, take me away. If you like talking sci-fi and fantasy, please subscribe. Don't make me beg. And welcome to Sporkin News Podcast. I am Scott. If you like what you see here, please subscribe, like, share videos. It really helps the channel. So let's get into this. This article. First thing I saw today. So, we think Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker is over with. We had our few months of bickering and Reylos and, people coming to terms with it was over. And we had our discussions and we had our arguments, but let's move on. Oh no, not Inverse. They want to make sure they point out some Reddit thread that explains why Rey most likely is the chosen one and how she fixed Anakin's mistakes. Fixed his mistakes. What mistakes? Okay. We all know he made some big ones at the beginning. He went to the dark side, kind of genocide there. You don't want that. We all know that. But then he saves his son, kills the Emperor, and comes back to the light. Okay. He brought balance to the Force. That was the whole part of George Lucas's films. We come to the sequel. Guess what? None of that meant anything, right? Let's destroy our icons and insert new hero here. So let's take a look at this article. I don't know if I'm going to make it through the whole thing. I just want to see the point they're trying to make. Inverse by Ryan Britt. Weirdest Clone Wars episode ever could prove Rey fixed Anakin. I can't even say it. Anakin's mistakes. Who balanced the Force? Anakin, Luke, or Rey? If you selected any of those three names and then added from a certain point of view in your best Alec Guinness voice, nice work. But let's get serious. It's been over 4 months since Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker came out, and we're still trying to figure out how Rey taking on all of the Siths in episode 9 jibes. Should it be jives? With Anakin Skywalker bringing balance to the Force in episode 6. I don't know about you. I'm not thinking about that at all. Anybody? You? No. No. Okay. Let's move on then, I guess. One new fan theory suggests we can trace the need for Rey to save everyone back to the most absurd Clone Wars story arc of them all. That's right. Let's head back to Mortis and see if we can't make some sense of the scales of the Force. Over on Reddit, a user, Yaboshiv, greatest Reddit handle ever, pointed out that when rewatching the Mortis arc, the Clone Wars season 3, that's episode 15, 16, 17 in that season, you can come away with the following interpretations. Maybe Anakin didn't fulfill the prophecy, as he didn't really bring about balance by taking the place of the father and gaining his power and position. Anakin had one job. In this 3-part episode, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Anakin find themselves on the planet Mortis, where metaphysical manifestations, of the light side daughter, the dark side son, and a being who keeps them in check, father, seem to all exist and directly impact what happens in the Force based on their actions. So when the father asks Anakin to stay and keep the dark and the light in balance, you are meant to think this is the moment where he can fulfill the prophecy. In fact, The oddest thing about the Mortis arc is that if you'd never seen the original trilogy and you were watching all of the Star Wars canon chronological or in order, you'd be legit confused as to why Anakin didn't take the place of the father. Everything in the Mortis episode really seems to be exact opportunity for Anakin to step up and become the chosen one. Here's a guy who literally is in charge of the Force telling Anakin that he should stay on Mortis and balance it. At one point, Anakin even holds up the daughter and the son, both in like Force beast mode, and literally keeps them in check at the same time. But this doesn't last. Anakin doesn't stay on Mortis. The son and the daughter both die, and the universe is screwed. Okay, first off, yes, Anakin probably could have took the place of the father and kept them in control, but this is a journey. He isn't supposed to just all of a sudden fix everything. Anakin is on the hero's arc. Now, let's don't forget these episodes, the Clone Wars, were written way after the original, the OT series, trilogy, excuse me, and then also a few years after the prequels. So having George Lucas's vision and Dave's vision are a little different. Dave had the luxury of knowing what Lucas was going to do. So yes, he didn't pick it here, but that doesn't mean he's not the chosen one. And that doesn't mean that was the perfect time. What it meant was he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to take that position of power. You know, Anakin brings balance to the Force by defeating the dark side. And he wasn't ready in the prequel movies. But guess what? We find out in the OT at the very end, he was ready to sacrifice his own life for his sons. Now, did he realize he was bringing balance to the Force? I don't think so. What I do know is that the love of a son and the love from his father made him make a choice over his emperor that he has been under control of for decades. And I think that is the moral of this story. So let's read on just a little bit more because I don't know if I can handle this article. I'll finish what my grandfather drinking buddy started. Here we go. If we accept this Reddit theory, then it allows us to figure out a way for reconciling George Lucas' Chosen One canon with what happened at the end of Rise of Skywalker. According to Lucas, Anakin fulfilled the prophecy as Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi by destroying the Sith, himself, and the Emperor. He brings balance to the Force. But Episode 9 seems to establish that was a short-term gain. Yeah, because it's not following anything. What is wrong with you people not to realize this? This was a slap together trilogy. Why am I still getting mad? I went through the stages of grieving starting after, The Last Jedi. So why am I getting upset at this? It's because people that I don't know if they understand, and this guy must have watched something or he found no, he didn't because he found a Reddit line. He has no clue what he's talking about. So strike that. Let's go on. It's unclear when Palpatine was reborn in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Yeah, to everyone. But it's a safe bet it was pretty quick. Nonetheless, for pure cinematic point of view, Anakin did destroy the contemporary Sith and brought balance, at least for a little while. Luke Skywalker even tells Rey in The Last Jedi that there was balance in the Force for a hot second. Is that what he actually said, a hot second? I don't remember that line. I was ripping out my eyes and screaming during that movie, but I don't remember him saying for a hot second. Anyways, but then it got messed up. In The Last Jedi, it's heavily implied that Ben Solo is the person who made the Force get unbalanced. But if Anakin didn't permanently balance it in the first place, then the whole concept of Mortis became a wash, and everybody else post Anakin is tasked with rebalancing the Force, rather than balancing it permanently. Think about that. Anakin's line to Rey in The Rise of Skywalker makes it perfect sense. Bring back the balance, Rey, as I did. Okay, people. Let's just remember this. It is, okay. Let's try that again. Let's reread this. But if Anakin didn't permanently balance it in the first place, then the whole concept of Mortis became a wash. Everybody else post Anakin is tasked with rebalancing the Force rather than balancing it permanently. Does this person think Mortis happened after episode 6? Is that how you read it? Let me know in the comments below, because in my mind, I'm reading it. This person thinks that happened after. I'm very confused by this person's writing. Let's go on. Notice the way this line is spoken. Anakin is saying he brought back the balance. And the reason he brought it back is that it actually existed during his lifetime, arguably on Mortis. So because Anakin messed up the natural force balancing system on Mortis, he had bring the balance back by killing himself and the Emperor. But because the Emperor continued to live after episode 6, Rey had to do it again. And again, I think they're wrong on this. There was balance. First of all, there was balance in the Force probably pre anyone actually tapping in to the midichlorians. And then when the Jedi formed, it wasn't until later that some dark Jedi decided to leave and then go to the Sith world. And then, because the Sith actually were a species, not actual, dark users at the moment. I believe EU people, fix me on that if I'm wrong. So he's bringing balance back because this is an ancient prophecy. Okay. So I don't know if this person at all understands any of the history. And even me being a Star Wars fan, I am not deep into the EU canon, which it once was, to get that. So I'm pretty sure that's what they're talking about. One point, Sith users, light size users were the predominant until some decided they wanted more power. But I might be wrong. But everybody's wrong in this one anyway, so who cares? Move on. The dyad became the new Mortis. Things get a little trickier when you start to think too hard about Ben Solo's role in all of this. But if we consider his alliance, dyad, with Rey to be part of how she restored balance, then it's not that tricky at all. Instead of Mortis, a lost cause screwed up by Anakin, you are an asshole. The Force created a dyad to replace it. Rey and Ben balance the light and the dark sort of naturally between their connection, and because of their respective lineage, have a good mix of light and dark within them. Arguably, Ben Solo and Rey are more well-rounded than Luke or Anakin ever were in terms of their experience with the light and dark side of the Force. Okay, everybody was tested with the dark side. Some failed, some didn't. Anakin failed, Luke didn't. But he was still tested with the dark side. Is it because she went to the dark side? She didn't even try to stop herself. This is ridiculous. Okay, I don't even know. Should I read the rest of this? I think it's almost over. Let's just finish it. So, if the dyad replaced the metaphysical function of Mortis, then it makes perfect sense that Rey does rebalance the Force. And as she's doing, Anakin's ghost subtly cops to the fact that he didn't get it right the first time. He said, I mean, even if this is, to me, not canon, he does say he brought balance to the Force. So did he not do it? I mean, in this Disney world, I guess he didn't. This may not be the tidiest way of reconciling multiple chosen ones within the Star Wars canon, but if we focus just on what people said and did, George Lucas' notion of Anakin's destiny and the sequel trilogy wrinkle on all of that might, for the first time, be existing in a fragile but reasonable balance. Are you kidding me? All right, so pretty much they said somewhere in there that Anakin's sacrifice created the dyad, which makes no sense because, before this dyad thing, Last Jedi, we never knew about, when light rises, dark will rise, that equals it. And then when that's defeated, light will rise to equal it, which is ridiculous because there was thousands of Jedi and only 2 Sith Lords for a millennia, which they're going to change anyways. This article makes no sense. Okay, Anakin Skywalker was the chosen one. Disney came in, bought George Lucas's masterpiece, and then decided to f it up. Okay, so let's just leave it at that, people. Stop trying to write your way out of all the plot holes in the new trilogy. Okay? Thanks to everyone who watched to the end. Please, again, subscribe, like, share. It really will help me out. We're at 600, trying to get to the 1,000, get to the pay. And remember, if they're calling you names, they've already lost the war. Have a great day, everybody.